Back in August of 2021, I was minding about my business, looking through social media. At the time, I didn't do YouTube, nor did I watch shows. I decided to go on Twitter and open the trending tab, where I was met with an announcement of The Walking Dead's final season. I had to dig into the back of my mind to remember that ancient name, and I was shocked about how much it disappeared. And when I thought about it, the last media coverage of The Walking Dead I could ever remember was the new villain Negan, and always this picture. Then it went silent. For 5 whole years, I never heard of the show again, right up until that moment when I was on my phone. And I got really interested in the whole story of what happened to The Walking Dead. So I watched clips of the later seasons and I saw stuff like the Whispers, new communities, awesome characters, and Negan being one of the leads of the show. By this point, this entire thing fascinated me. So I decided to watch the entirety of The Walking Dead to see if the fall off was really deserved. And with that, I found my new favorite show, group of characters, and shockingly, Negan's character became my favorite, which left me even more confused that I liked his character so much, yet others say he ruined the show. So I did some research and I'm gonna tell you guys how Negan killed and saved The Walking Dead. In order to do so, let's start from the beginning when his name was a myth among the characters, all the way to when Rick was getting blocked off at every turn by the Saviors. And by the way, how did Negan know where Rick was at every turn? Well, that's because Rick wasn't using ExpressVPN. One of the biggest problems nowadays are the many risks when browsing the internet unprotected. Your ISP is actually able to view everything you look at online. They can then sell your information without your consent to ad companies to specifically target you, just like Rick was. Luckily, ExpressVPN is here to help. ExpressVPN allows you to anonymize yourself with their encrypted VPN. This means that ISPs are no longer able to view your online activity. On top of that, ExpressVPN offers up to 94 locations when enabling the VPN, so other benefits are gained on top of your encryption. For example, if you wanted to watch The Walking Dead on Netflix but it's not allowed in your country, you can simply open up ExpressVPN and set your location to one where the show is allowed. I personally like to use ExpressVPN when using internet cloud services to ensure my safety and anonymity, or when using Discord so people can't pull my IP. If you're ready to take your internet security to the next level, then go to expressvpn.com/clashed to get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN free. In the first half of 2016, The Walking Dead was at an all-time high of viewership, which is a big yay for the writers until they realized how much this would come back to haunt them later on. The reason this show had so much hype was not just because the show was already growing, but also because a new villain was being teased. His name was Negan, and he had a group called the Saviors. The hype got even larger when we saw Rick destroy an entire outpost of Saviors, Far Cry 3 style. By this point, we knew Negan would be the scariest villain yet. He sent one of Gregory's own people to kill him. Rick killed hundreds of Saviors in their sleep, and while all that was going down, the real Negan was still completely faceless. That was until we finally met Negan.
I'm Negan, shithead.
And Rick killed him.
I'm sorry it had to come to this.
Nah, I'm just joking. We met the real Negan in the most terrifying way possible in the season 6 finale. It started with the group needing to take Maggie to Hilltop since she was sick with her pregnancy, and Alexandria didn't have a doctor because...
If you don't wait...
Well, because of Negan and the Saviors, but they were constantly met with the same problem. The Saviors blocking each road and constantly scaring them with knowing where they would go next. And this was a time when Rick Grimes had the biggest ego possible. So once he was met face to face with Trevor Phillips, we knew shit was gonna go down. When looking back on this episode, I find it pretty comical how scary the Saviors looked here, because that didn't really last for that long. In season 8, they became pretty dumb.
Nah, we got this one locked down, Hefe.
Damn straight you do.
Eventually, the group is ambushed and brought to their knees where we're finally introduced to the big bad Negan.
Pissing our pants yet?
Now, how will Negan punish Rick and his group for killing hundreds of men in his sleep? Kill one of them brutally with a baseball bat while the rest watch? Which sounds pretty dumb in theory since Negan is killing one person for hundreds of his dying, but don't forget what Negan wants.
And what I want is half your shit.
So this is the perfect way to teach a good lesson and get this egotistical goofball with the system. Now, this is where the controversy and big problems for The Walking Dead starts. Instead of Negan killing a character in the finale, we're left on a cliffhanger of who he kills in their POV. So we don't know who he killed. Whether or not this was a bad decision, it made the hype for season 7 even more massive than just the reveal of Negan itself. And since this happened in the season 6 finale, fans had to wait like a whole 6 months to figure out who died. And during this entire 6 months, The Walking Dead was talked about non-stop. All people could wonder was, who did Negan kill? What happens next? And lots of leaks. And with this coverage, a lot of bandwagon fans got on the train, which I think are the same people who say the show was bad after Glenn died or Negan ruined the show. Then the episode aired with a shocking twist. Negan ended up killing 2 people, first Abraham, then Glenn. Then just like that, The Walking Dead had completely disappeared in terms of coverage. Now, like I said, I watched the show in order to determine if the show dying at this moment was deserved. And to keep it short, I don't think it was deserved. People say season 7 was terrible, and while I don't think it's the strongest season, I definitely don't think it's horrible. I actually think that the 2 episodes after 7x1 were the weakest, which I think is when the bandwagon fans stopped watching. Because keep in mind, those people really don't care about story, they just kind of hopped on for the hype. But besides from 7x2 and 7x3, the episodes after are incredible. We see Carl and Negan together, Negan liberating Alexandria, the kingdom and Shiva, Morgan finally meeting someone like his son, and the much deserved wake-up call Rick got. All of these reasons really make me think that season 7 is a great season and is extremely realistic in terms of writing and storytelling. Now, like I said, The Walking Dead took a massive hit in the first 3 episodes of season 7 and never recovered again. I mean, here's a graph for an example. So the general thing that people say is either I stopped watching after Glenn died or Negan ruined the show. And since this video is specifically about Negan, I'm going to talk about how I think his character is the best thing that ever happened. Now, in season 7, Negan was really dislikable, obviously because of what he did. Also, I feel like Jeffrey Dean Morgan wasn't fully prepared for the amount of hype regarding his character, so people found his performance to be not as good, which I think he does redeem himself in season 8 and forward. And during season 8, the show was mainly about war, and a lot of the true fans also clocked out here because of Carl, which I also understand, but personally I wasn't affected too much by it. Anyways, Negan's character carried season 8 for me. I feel like season 8 focused on both perspectives of Rick and Negan equally, which made it that much more interesting. While season 8 was pretty dragged out, I did enjoy it a lot. And finally, the war did end with Rick and Negan, with Rick fulfilling Carl's wish and keeping Negan alive. This was one of the most hated on decisions by the people who dislike Negan, but I can't express how happy I am that the writers did this. Once season 9 rolled around, we all knew Andrew Lincoln was going to be leaving in episode 5. While this would have been horrible at first glance, the show still had characters like Daryl, Carol, Ezekiel, Tara, and Negan. Once Andrew Lincoln left, they quickly shifted to the Whisperers arc, where now it was Negan's time to shine. After Alpha killed Henry, Carol let Negan out of his cell where they made a deal. Negan will kill Alpha, and Carol will vouch for him to live properly at Alexandria. And this entire arc was so fun to watch. Negan was so likable with his charisma and lack of fear when he faced the Whisperers. On top of this amazing storyline, we got the best episode during this season when we saw Negan's backstory. A lot of people say season 10 is the weakest, but I really can't tell if they're just saying that because they dislike Negan or if they really do think it was weak, because from what I remember, season 10 is one of my favorite. And ever since season 10 and the Negan backstory episode, Negan has played a huge protagonistic role in the series, taking down the Whisperers, taking down the Reapers, saving Maggie's son, taking down the Commonwealth. And of course, I still see the people who stopped watching 7 years ago saying, why is Negan alive? Why is he working with Maggie? Why do they like him now? Did they forget what he did? It's just so funny how people don't understand how in the Walking Dead timeline, that lineup was over 8 years ago now. And just how bad of a person Rick was compared to Negan. Rick killed hundreds of people, most likely innocent in their sleep. Negan killed just 2. This is why I genuinely think Negan is one of the best characters and does not deserve the hate he gets. He was a leader trying to protect his people when a random group came and killed hundreds of them in his sleep. And the fact that we saw him have like a close relationship with Carl, and it still ties into how he acts good today.
Carl Grimes, I heard you shot him.
I never did that. I never.
Is the reason I don't think Negan hate is deserved, and he saved The Walking Dead. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great day.